and you're in the middle of a fast like we've been, and you decide that you're going to break the fast, you're going to interrupt it for some reason. Yeah, that's what's going on, y'all. That's what's going on with me. So many of you know that it's homecoming here where I am, and we've got some friends that are coming into town. And we are, some buddies of mine, getting together tomorrow morning for breakfast. We're going to hang out. We're going to kick it. We're going to reconnect and do all the things that guys do in the morning. And it's supposed to be at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's right, 7 o'clock early. And so I've decided that I am going to break the fast. I'm going to interrupt the fast, if you will, so that I can have some quality time hanging out with my friends. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you remember when I was in Jamaica, we interrupted a fast, and the title of that one was, "What do you do when life happens?" And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about how we break the fast. I'm in the middle of a 72-hour fast like we do. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood, y'all. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here in the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We're creating the life that you've always wanted. And here, in this year, new year, new you, what our plan is to put diabetes in remission. We are reversing diabetes, getting off of diabetes medication. We are interrupting all of those metabolic diseases, all those metabolic conditions that go along with diabetes. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, polycystic ovarian syndrome, people who are struggling with obesity or being overweight. All of those things improve as we manage our diabetes. And we've been using a very powerful tool called fasting. And over the last several months, you've watched me as I've fasted. 72 hours is what we've been doing. I've encouraged you to do a 24-hour once-a-week fast. Some of you are doing more extended fast. And we're going to talk about, well, what happens when there's something that's going on that you need to make a decision about whether you're going to interrupt that fast. And as we do, y'all, here on the channel, you'll get to see what my blood sugars are. You'll see I have my monitors kind of waiting over here to see what those blood sugars are, see what my ketones are at this time. We're going to do a check-in. You're also going to get to see what my glucose is on my my Dexcom and on my Libre. You'll see there on the you see there on my monitor right now that my blood sugar is actually 57 according to the Libre. Well, as we do, we're going to go through and talk a little bit about some of those and do some other things as we get into the rest of the show. And just want to give a shout out to some people that I see. I see Animal Paradise, Communication and Healing. Hi, Janet. How are you? She said, hi, Dwayne. Happy Healing Thursday. Thank you. Thank you. And she said, have the best weekend. Thank you for that. Always glad when we have friends who stop by to say hello. And Janet is one of those. I do see also that we have over on Instagram, and actually we should be streaming now on all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X as it's called now. We should be on Facebook and of course here on YouTube. So just if you are out there, just say hello, drop us a note. If you've got questions, go ahead and ask those as we get into the rest of the show. All right, so quick check-in, y'all. So right now I am just about, let's see, 29 hours into, sorry. So let me see. Let me back up. So 48 plus another 5. How much is that? So 53 hours or so. So tomorrow morning, I will be at 60 hours when I'm going to interrupt the fast. Remember, this is a 72-hour fast that we've been working on, and so I'll be well on the way in the fast, but I'm going to interrupt it. But let's go ahead and do like we do our check-in. So let you know where I am. Remember, I always talk about where I am physically, where I am mentally, and where I am emotionally. Physically, of course, a lot of people will feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty as they get further into fasting. For those of you who are diabetics, remember, a part of that has to do with the fact that you are still taking medications, and those medications, the job of the medication is to lower the blood sugar. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you are talking with and communicating with your healthcare provider, because sometimes the medications need to be adjusted so that you don't have those symptoms. That's the first thing. The second is that often when we get into a fast, some of the symptoms that we are feeling really have to do with our bodies being used to a certain level of carbohydrates, glucose, glycogen, if you will, right? So it's not uncommon for me to have a patient who comes in to see me that is used to having blood sugars of 200 or 300. And when we begin improving those blood sugars are coming down, they begin feeling symptoms, right? Quote unquote symptoms. Their blood sugar goes from 250 down to 200, which is still a high number, but yet they feel the symptoms of someone who's going from a normal blood sugar of 100 down to a blood sugar of 40 or 50. And that's because the body is used to being at those higher levels. And the trick there is to make sure that we are beginning to train the body to be comfortable at lower numbers. Okay, so that's two things. One, we begin feeling those symptoms. We think that they are as a result of the fasting, but it's just our body adjusting. But me physically, I'm feeling well. If you remember, as I checked in last night, I said that I did a good job of making sure that I got my meal in. I actually delayed my fast, the starting of my fast, for about half an hour because I was in a meeting. Well, not yesterday. I said that yesterday, but it was on Tuesday when I started the fast, Tuesday night at about 6:30. And so I delayed that fast starting time for about half an hour so that I can get my meal in. I did a good job the night before of getting rest, and the night when I started my fast, I got rest. I've been remaining hydrated, and I've been listening to my body in terms of how I felt. So this fast was actually probably one of the best initiations that I've had over the last several months because I did a great job of preparing. So I don't feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, all the things that sometimes people will feel when they begin that fast. Mentally, I'm clear. In fact, there's this clarity that people talk about as they get further into the fast. So sometimes, over that first, 12, 18 hours, they get past the 24 hours. And what begins to happen is that there is no longer this push for paying attention to food. Okay, not that you're ignoring food, but there are other things that take precedence, and so your body now has switched over from burning carbohydrates and glycogen. It's now burning fat, and that fat is producing ketones, and the ketones is being used for energy. And as you know, as I've said before, the source of energy that the brain likes is actually ketones. It prefers ketones. So when we are giving the brain the substrate, the energy that it needs, then it functions on a level that it doesn't normally do when it's burning carbohydrates and glycogen. Okay, so mentally I feel clear. And then emotionally, this year, or this fasting period, has been a little bit more emotional for me because we were preparing for this weekend. We've got a lot of family and friends who are coming into town. We are the hosts for the weekend usually. And so we have, in addition to that, some other functions that are going on. There are things that I've been preparing for in terms of what we do here on the channel. And so anyway, all those things have been going on this week. And so as I got into the fast, those social cues, you remember the things that push us to eat? Remember our HEAT model: habit, emotions, access, and taste, right? So I was struggling with some of these this week as I got into the fast because there were so many cues, for example, my team eating and the emotions that were driving some of the thoughts that I was having. And of course, as we are so easily pushed in the direction of comfort eating, y'all. That's right. I said it. Comfort eating, right? So make sure that you are in the process of handling those triggers so that you don't cause yourself additional problems. So emotionally, that was something that I struggled with over the course of this particular fast. So that's physically, mentally, emotionally, how I'm feeling. And of course, we'll talk here in a little bit about where I am in my breaking of the fast. So let's take a look at some of the numbers. And you saw, initially, you saw what my blood sugar was there on my Libre. And let's pull up, and so you can see what the Dexcom is actually saying it is. So Dexcom is saying a 63, and my Libre is saying a 56, right? So those are the two numbers that you see there, 56 and 65 on the Dexcom and 56 on the Libre. Let's take a look and see what my meters are going to say. So let's hop over and take a look at that now. And as you know, I have my Contour and then my Keto Mojo meter. And so actually I need to see, I think I did not bring the strips for this guy. They are, hold on a second, give me just a minute. All right, so I am back, and I had them because they were in my bag right there. All right, so let's take a look at what these are. So let's grab a strip for the Contour. Let's get that in there. And then we will do a strip for the Keto Mojo. All right, we've got our Lancet. And let's get our drop of blood. Very good. Okay, there we are. That's a good drop. You know, sometimes we struggle to get that drop. And let's get that onto the Keto Mojo, and we'll see what that is. And that, as that's doing, I'm going to go ahead. Oops, we got a little blurriness going on. There we go. As that's doing that, go ahead and keep a drop here, because we're going to need that for the ketones. And look at that, y'all, 58 and 57. So that's pretty close to each other. And let's go ahead and grab this one out and replace it with the ketone strip. And we'll see. What do you think? What do you think the ketones are going to be? Huh? What do you think they're going to be? So we're at about 53 hours, maybe. I don't know. 3.1, 3.2, maybe. Let's see if I'm right. Okay, 3.8. So even higher. All right. So let's hop over and pull over, of course. We'll pull over the number from the Contour. Let's see, is that getting over? There we go. So 58. And then let's go ahead and sync our Keto Mojo meter. And of course, this one is going to give us our GKI, right? So our glucose ketone index. And we'll talk here in a minute about ketones and so forth. So here is, right, so glucose of 57 and ketones of 3.8, right? So this is a ratio of the two, and that gives us the GKI of 0.8. When we talk about ketones, remember, ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to about 1.5 is considered nutritional ketosis, and then above that is considered to be therapeutic ketosis. And we want, in our progress in terms of burning fat and using ketones, we want the ketones to be higher, and we want the glucose to be lower. So let's take a look at our graph. And at the beginning of that graph there, you'll see that the turquoise line, that is the ketone. and the tan line is the blood sugar. And when I was breaking my fast last week, as I got to the end of the fast, notice that the ketones are high, blood sugars are low, and as I started eating, of course, those ketones went up. And let me change this so, okay, you guys on Instagram can see that as well. So the ketones went up, or ketones went down, blood sugars went up. As I got to fasting and started fasting, notice that the ketones are going up and the blood sugars are coming down. And then they crossed there probably about Tuesday, Wednesday. And then, of course, now the ketones are up and the blood sugar is down. And so that's what we want when we're talking about being in ketosis and the body now burning ketones as energy. Remember, I kind of give the analogy that the ketone versus glycogen, glucose, is kind of like having a hybrid car, and the car is can burn both fuels. As the gas goes away, then we switch over to the electricity or the battery. And that's the case that's what's going on here. And I know that my body is burning ketones because it's producing ketones, right? And the blood sugars are actually low. One of the questions that people ask often is, why are you not feeling those symptoms of having low blood sugar? Well, it's kind of like the car again. If you don't have gas, it's not really a big deal because you have the battery that your car runs on. And same thing here, I'm running right now, my body is using ketones, and the ketones are the source of energy that the body is using. And there are certain tissues, of course, as I mentioned, the brain, that they prefer the ketones. And so that's not a big issue at this point. We'll come back and talk more about that here in just a minute. But let's hop over and let's talk a little bit about interrupting the fast. I had a lady that I was talking to just over the last couple of days, and the issue that we were having was that she felt guilty about eating, I think it was a cake or candy or cookie or something that was, she was at a function with some friends, and one of them, I think, either had made it or bought it, and so they brought it, and so she ate it, and so she felt guilty. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the social, well, not just the social, as we are working on our health. I guess let me start there. As we're working on our health, one of the things to remember is the reason that we are working on being healthy. Remember we talked in our very first show about the why. The why are you doing things? The 5 whys. And one of the reasons that I want to be healthy, I guess let me speak for myself. One of the reasons I want to be healthy is so I want to be around for my family. I want to be around for my son who's growing up. I want to be around for my wife and my mom and brothers, sisters, and cousins and aunties and uncles and all those folks. I want to be around. I want to be able to enjoy life with them. Notice the words that I use. I want to be able to enjoy life with them. And a big part of our push for being healthy is, of course, to be alive, right? People want to be alive. And usually that's the first thing people say, hey, yeah, I want to be alive. I don't want to die. And so the question, remember the 5 whys? The question is, why do you want to be alive? And say, well, what do you mean, why do I want to be alive? I want to be alive because I like living. Well, yes, what are you living for? And we're living for, living for jobs. We're living for all kinds of other things. But ultimately, a lot of us will say we want to be alive because we want the connection with the people in our lives, right? So as we are making that connection and as we are working on keeping ourselves healthy for all those reasons, for all those benefits, we have to remember that we've got to be flexible. We've got to be able to incorporate what we do in terms of managing diseases, in terms of managing the places that we find ourselves, the things that we're learning, the tools that we're learning. We've got to be flexible in order to in using those so that we can continue to be involved in the lives of the people that we say we care about. Give you an example. often I get around the holidays, people come to me and they're worried and they're panicked. They're anxious. They are frustrated because they're going home, wherever home is. They're going home to family, or family's coming over, and there's going to be a lot of food around. And they don't know how to incorporate what they're doing currently into the environment that they will find themselves in. Right? There's going to be a lot of people who are, they got the candies and the cookies and for me, it's the eggnog and the dressing, or what's the other word? Dressing versus stuffing, right? So depending on what part of the country you come from, the dressing versus the stuffing, and there's the cranberry sauce and the peach cobbler and the apple pie and the potato pie and the pumpkin pie, or once again, depending on where you are. And so they said, Dr. Wood, I don't know how to navigate that. So when I'm there, I am so anxious because I see all this food and people are going to be expecting me to eat. And if I don't eat, I'm going to offend someone, and on and on and on. And so we go through all of those contortions in our minds, right, before we get to the situation. And that causes a lot of angst for a lot of people. And so let's talk through a little bit of what some of the considerations should be as we're getting into those situations, and as we talk about how do we go about breaking the fast or interrupting the fast. And I guess I need to use the word interrupting as opposed to breaking the fast, right? Yes. So let's take a look at that, some of that. So interrupting the fast, and I'm interrupting my fast at 60 hours. Okay. Now, the first thing that I want you to know, and I'm going to stay on this screen here for a minute, is I want you to notice the number of hours. So I'm planning for a 72-hour fast, but I'm planning to break the fast tomorrow morning at 60 hours. And that, I want you to note, is significant. It's kind of like several weeks ago, I mentioned that I had someone who sent me a message, and they said to me, "Hey, Dr. Wood, I failed in the fasting." And I said, well, tell me what happened. What do you mean you failed? And this person said, well, I only made it to 66 hours. I only made it to 66 hours. And y'all, I'm gonna say that if you fasted for 66 hours, that is not a failure. And that's what I said